for free.
I'm
And
podcast right now. I can't speak. I'll be on for the next hour. Can you call me back?
We hear you, Rashid.
and
Really?
yeah, I was just grateful. I mean, I shared it with all my family, and hopefully they'll tune in today.
You know, one of the things I noticed, you know, I have spent the last few decades studying money and doing various different things, trying to improve, you know, your economic situation. And you get lost, you know, you get to certain forms and processes and opportunities. You go, okay, well, how do I do this? What does this mean? And what does that mean? So I really think it's invaluable to have somebody you can, you know, talk to. And just question when you see things in the news, you know, to have someone to talk to. So I have to, that's been one of my great joys about, you know, having this roundtable group that we have of people with varied, extensive experience with money. You know, it's that you can ask questions. So inshallah, it'll be profitable and fruitful for everyone. I shouldn't say profitable, but I'll say fruitful. All right, it's 10:35. So we want to welcome everybody to Grace Island Community's second webinar in our series titled Strategies for Making Money Grow 091. So if we could have the opening dua.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen.
You don't need the address, Rashonda. It should give you the ID.
If you want to mute your phones, so everybody make sure they're muted. And that way, so if you get a personal call or have to make a comment to someone in the household, it doesn't interrupt the webinar. We appreciate your
Rashad, we never was able to figure out Zoom here. Remember, you read the sentence.
all right, so of course, Brother Rashad didn't hear me.
Hold on. Gotta get here.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Rashad. Welcome. Thank you. So, all right, I'm Amira Wazir, and I'll be your moderator again. And so, let me say, I think you'll benefit from having paper and pen available so that you can take down some of the suggestions. Now, when I went back through my notes from last week, I said, we gave out a lot of information and possibly you weren't prepared for that, but you want to be able to take advantage of the information that flows. It may not flow in an organized or an announced manner, but information does flow as conversation ebbs and flows. You know, one of us may make a comment, or maybe one of you all make a comment that would be helpful to someone else. So just having paper and pencil, I think, might be beneficial. So today we'll have a speaker. His name is Rashid Salam, and his topic is optimizing your attitude. So before we hear from Brother Rashid, I want to recap last week's orientation. So if you didn't have paper and pencil, it was something you missed, you know, maybe this will just jog your memory, or, you know, you can take it down this week. So we defined remedial, you know, we said that this is the strategies for making money grow 091. The 091 is the category in community colleges and college settings for it being a remedial program. And so according to the dictionary, remedial, it means to remedy. So we're hoping to remedy the issues that we have as a people around the issue of money. You know, Allah says, you know, reminds us to get our share, but our share often is hidden, or it's the path to it is minimized for us. So we really want to remedy the fact that we didn't have access to Many of us did not have access to financial literacy when we were in school or in college. So, so this is a remedial course. This is hopefully to be a remedy. This is not a cure-all, you know, and so this is, we hope to be the start of a long journey for you that offers you remedies. So we define our purpose was to teach classes on personal finance from a principled approach.
What down
And
the
we,
tells you don't come out there. So
and so we defined the principal approach, the personal finances as all financial decisions and activities of an individual or household, including money management, banking, budgeting, insurance, mortgage planning, savings, investing, retirement, and estate planning. So it covers quite a bit. So for 091 purpose, this means to create an awareness of the basic strategy of growing money and guide you to the tools to facilitate implementation. And I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a respiratory issue. So if you've read any personal finance materials, you'll find they all share a basic curriculum. The more I read, I see, okay, it's like math. It's the same variables. So what sets Graceline apart is we're hands-on, as we discussed earlier when we just beginning, before we actually began. We believe in a principled approach to money. And we introduced a video from Imam Fahim Shuaib, and it was about that principled approach to money. You know, so I'm hoping that everybody had a chance to go and listen to the video. It was long. It was one of the reasons that we decided not to play it in the orientation. We didn't know which part we wanted to cut out. We wanted you all to hear all of it because it was so important. So hopefully you did have an opportunity to do that. And if not, you did receive the link. Edward, did we send the link, or did you all put it on the website? How did it go?
It was sent in the link
Okay.
with the meeting notes.
All right. All right. So, and then we discussed 5 reasons why you need to make to manage your money and learn how to make it work for you, improve the quality of your life, become debt-free, retirement, building generational wealth, and reaching individual goals and desires. And yesterday I had an opportunity to listen to an imam from Minneapolis, and he talked about he and a group of the other faith leaders, interfaith faith leaders, were touring the country, and they had come to Atlanta on for Martin Luther King weekend, and he talked a lot about leaving a legacy. And so I wanted to just add that, because I think I left that out, or and it shouldn't have been, leaving a legacy for not only our family but for our community. You know, so and I moved to Atlanta, they had a school, and that was my reason for coming here. So we want to leave a legacy for those behind us, our individual family members, children of our friends and community, but we want to make sure there are schools. We want to support the schools we have. We've gone down from a lot of schools down to about 8 or 9. But, and my scarf is off to Brother Adam and his efforts with the 100 at the 50 at 100. What is it? 100 at 50, right? But we sent $50.
And rest assured that the integrity of our branch will stay intact.
You can't put.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, it's 50 at 100, I believe. So we're looking for 100 individuals to send $50 a month to the Muhammad schools. And since that's been done, none of the schools have closed up. So we need to leave those types of legacies where we maintain our schools. And then, of course, our newspaper. You know, newspapers all across the country have folded, and ours has managed to hold on. But when we want to put a story in the paper, Muslim Journal is our newspaper. So we may not be able to get our personal story into the New York Times or, you know, the Washington, D.C. newspapers. So being able to support the institutions that we have is a legacy we need to make sure that we support. So our takeaway for us at Graceland when we discussed it was that many of you had a desire to learn more about wills and trust and getting your affairs in orders. And so that generated some conversation, and there were some suggestions from Brother Talib, about making sure that we went to the bank and requested a payable upon death form from the bank, or whatever name they call it, to document our passwords. Also, we talked about discussing with our family the lack of insurance with family members and not blindsiding them. So if we don't have life insurance or cash in our accounts to bury ourselves, we don't want to leave our family with grief and a debt. So if you're amongst those who feel that you didn't want to get life insurance for whatever reasons, then it's something you should share that with your family to let them know what they'll be facing when you pass. So those were some suggestions we had upon the request about wills and information, and the last two classes will be specifically on those two issues. And then we, in preparation for next week's webinar on budgeting strategy, you had homework. Now, I'm not the teacher's going to ask you about your homework. So, but the homework was stop spending. So, of course, you have things you can't not stop spending on. You got to have gas in the car, you got to have groceries. But just to stop the bleeding, I'll put it like that, to gather all your financial information. If you're going to create a budget, then you need to have your financial information. So you need to be able to analyze your money, study your money. I said, get so serious with it, you're down in the couch getting the pennies up out of there. So all of the money that you have, resources that you have, begin to get that information, bring it and put it in a format. I'm working on a document. I talked about a document I had created for myself several years ago, and I call it Tracking Money. So I'm working on putting that together so we can have it up on the website. We did promise you all some e-handouts, and so hopefully we'll have one of that, as well as some information about debt strategies and things of that nature. So our inspiration video was Imam Fahim Shuaib's Alana Sunnah Money. We talked about a reading list. So for me, I thought something inspirational, so I suggested The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap by Misra Baradar. I'm not pronouncing it correctly, so let me spell it. Baradan. So, but then I'm asking, even though I'm not going to ask you about this quote unquote homework, I want you to take just a moment, and I'm going to give you just a few seconds to think about what you did in response to all the information you received last week and the directions and the suggestions. Did you do anything with that? What was your attitude about it? When you heard it, I don't have time for it. I'm going to reject it. I don't think it's necessary. Did you just procrastinate? I'm going to get to it. Or did you just have maybe a wait and see attitude? Let me just wait to see what's going on before I do something like that. Let me just wait. What was your mental response, to that suggestion about the homework? So I'm giving you a moment to think. I'm not going to say I'm not going to ask you what you did, but I want you to think about what you did or did not do, and to ask yourself why. And so, and with that, now that you have an idea about how you thought about gathering and organizing your money, I want to introduce Brother Rashid. This is my perfect segue. And his topic this morning is monetizing your attitude. So out of his 12-page bio, I've just highlighted a couple of things I want to share with you this morning. So he's worked as a bank manager, credit manager, and operations manager in the corporate and the private sector. And he is currently teaching holistic, comprehensive, essential life skills with federal probation and parole department. He's a facilitator providing skills for workforce development with MOCAN Educational Center and anger management at Mark Twain Community Center locally in St. Louis. And he really wanted to be identified as a brother from the hood trying to do the world some good. So Brother Rashid, you want to take it from here? And you are, you're muted.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for the brief introduction of my 12-page bio. Please. I just want to
Alhamdulillah, that was excellent. And you're absolutely right in terms of for the next few weeks, we're going to go over almost every word you said. You said it so eloquently, as you always do. So, but let's just open the mic up to our attendees. Does anybody have any questions or comments, observations? A lot was said. So you look at your notes. Is there something you'd like more information about? This is the time, to really get an understanding. And so everybody's mic is closed. And at this point in time, why don't we just open our mics so that if we decide we have something to say, it doesn't take us a long time, to get our mics open. And then we can just begin a conversation. This is our round table. This is our Q&A, so let's just jump right in,
Well, I will say this. As much as Rashid and I and those of us in Graceline have been together, my notes that I took, and I think Rashid's presentation made this personal for each one of us. Because I began to question myself as to where I fall in these different categories that he laid out. Starting off with the 66% that live from paycheck to paycheck, and half of those making $100,000 a year. I mean, that's pretty jarring for us to hear, particularly if you happen to fall within that 66%.
Yes, sir.
And even, and it's a head scratcher if you're in that 33% that's making 100,000. So we're not just talking about, someone who is in a low-paying job.
Right.
Because one of the things I think we also need to reflect on is that in many states across the country, hourly wages are now going from, I'm just going to say a meager $7.50 an hour to $15 an hour or more.
Right.
They are now talking about, in many instances, changing the concept of a tip worker. Where some tip workers may make $5 an hour plus their tips. Now they're talking about giving them more as a living wage.
Right.
And then the last thing that I took a look at was the presentation that you made in terms of how we're going to control our money. That it's that whether we like it or appreciate it or not, we are a business, we are a corporation. Yes. And we need to start viewing ourselves that way. And so it's that language that I think is going to help us to recognize the things that we need to do so that we all become comptrollers. That is, we become those, we become those ones who decide who gets paid and when.
Right.
And study enough to know that if you have, for example, a credit card with a balance, and if you are thinking as long as you pay that that minimum amount on time,
wow,
that your credit should be better than what you think. What you don't recognize is what you should be doing if you can't pay that balance off. What you should be doing is when that bill comes in, sit down and pay it right then. Because on a credit card, interest accrues daily.
Yes, sir.
So every day that goes by, if you're carrying a balance, there goes another $3.10. Now that may not seem like much, but if it goes by for what, 20-something days in the cycle,
Right.
times $3.10, okay, you do the math. That's close to $70 in interest
Yes, sir.
that you could have avoided simply by paying it that first day. All right, that's my contribution.
Excellent. Thank you so much, brother.
Alhamdulillah. Anyone
On
else?
point.
Brother Rashad?
We have Sister Rashana has her hand raised.
Oh, Sister Rashana?
It's right here.
Excellent.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I think that reviewing this has really brought this, as his brother stated, very personal. I recognize my trauma with the money. And now I recognize that homework that I really have to work on really has come probably full circle with what I need to do, and what we're working on now is trying to correct some of those things. And we thank you for that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. You know, as I've said, I've spent a few years just studying money and learning about money and etc. And over the years, I've made a lot of progress. But, you know, in sessions like this, I realized, okay, I've come a long way. I've come from the days when I had, you know, too much debt. You know, as I said last week, $50,000 worth of debt. I was making minimum payment and there was no problem. I'm thinking everything is cool until they came out with the interest, how much interest I was paying. And I saw it on my credit card. You know, so I took this particular statement from an associate, and this balance is $5,940.61. The minimum payment is $145.45. The interest charged, get this, $91.53.
Yes, that principal balance stays the same, doesn't
Now,
it?
in the box now where they now tell us how much is it going to cost us about if we use the credit card, it says if you make no additional charges using this card and each month you pay only the minimum payment, you will pay off the balance shown on this statement, which is $5,940 in 19 years.
Yes.
You will have paid back at the end of that 19 years on this $5,940 balance, $13,703.
Yes, sir.
That's almost 3 times what you borrowed, at least doubled.
They say
So-
debt is detrimental. They say debt is detrimental.
And so it is no longer sufficient that we're just be able to pay the minimum amount on your credit card and keep your, you know, everything is kosher because it's on time. I mean, you're giving away massive money. And when you substitute, when you subtract how much we're paying for taxes, inflation, and interest, what do we have left? No, you know, we're in a hole.
Yes,
You know, my
ma'am.
brother, Rashid, I got a question for you. When I was thinking about the title of your presentation, Monetizing Your Attitude, and it made me think about Dennis Kimbrough's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And so it was a guide that he published right after the Depression, around the Depression in 1937. And so I just wanted to kind of maybe read this thought here. When I read this, it says the summary about his book, it says the book was immediately welcomed as an antidote. Let me stop right there with that word, antidote. So what are we talking about? Remedies. Antidotes and remedies the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually, it's used to come to the remedy.
you know, it produces the remedy.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So, you know, and so it was an antidote to hard times, and it remains a bestseller for decades. Even now, people are dealing with the same situations. So the summary goes on and says, Hill contends that our thoughts become our reality and offers a plan and principles. There's 14 principles that transform thoughts into riches, including visualization, affirmations, creating a mastermind group, defining a goal, and planning. So back in the 30s, there was a man who recognized just what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's all about how you think.
Yeah.
You know, so, and many people who have read his book from, and I did read his book, and then we came out with, another brother came out with a book called Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice.
Yeah.
And so after going back through the summary, I was like, I need to reread this book because I learned this, a little bit out of both of those books. And it really gave me kind of like the ability just kind of, I think, just to persevere. And one of my favorite stories was about the man who had brought a gold mine, what he thought was a gold mine. And he dug and he poured all his money in, and make a long story short, he just poured his money into it for years and years and years till he didn't have another dime to pour in it. So he sold it. And the people who came in, within a few inches, they hit the biggest gold lode in history, in American history. So I always think of that, you know, that persistence.
Yes.
So wherever we are in terms of our finances today, we have to keep pursuing, because there's a higher level to where we want to go with this money. You know, we want to have enough money, not just to pay our own bills or just to leave our own children some money. We want to, as I said, to leave a legacy for the world, for our community. You know, so thoughts are very powerful. And so what you think becomes reality. And, you know, I really, that's my thought I want to leave with the attendees today from behind, you know, just listening to you, you know, so, and so anyone else, you know, if you open up your mic.
Yeah, your brain will do whatever you tell it.
Yes, that I've learned.
That's
even when we don't believe it. Even when we don't believe it, if you keep telling the brain that, it will follow. It will produce even the negative comments. It will manifest that. So what we think and what we tell ourselves, I say, even if it's a lie, tell it to yourself. You know, I'm fabulous. You know, I'm going to make money. My brain all knows what it heard. Brother Rashad, did you have a comment?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Yes, there was so much information given, but that form 1003, I think in my lifetime, I probably filled it out. I'm not sure. I don't know, maybe I've seen it. I don't know, but I'm going to pull it up on Google and print it out and get and make it out.
It's a good starting point.
Man, that's 66%. I mean,
it's real.
I knew it was up there, but I didn't know it was that high.
Oh yes,
but the other part, that $100,000 a year, and 33% of the people, and man, that's about everybody.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of people. You know, we forget two things, Brother Rashad, is taxation and inflation. It's called the silent enemy. We don't see it. We can't touch it, but it affects us almost every single day based on expenses, how things go up, and how taxes are applied to it. I was just looking at how much money in taxes come out of a gallon of gas. We don't even look at that. It's amazing that a gallon of gas has like 6 or 7 different taxes in it that we pay on a regular basis, you know, and not knowing these little things. And all I'm trying to do is just lay the foundation to prepare us for what's to come. Because these next sessions that are coming, you're going to need to know some of these little things that I'm sharing with you now. When you make a decision or you ask a question, you know, where's that question coming from? Does it come from some substance? Does it come from scientific research and education information? We have to start here. That assessment. That 1003 is a mortgage loan application. That's all it is. Okay. But that's how they make a decision whether you qualify for a home or not. But I just left California 4 years ago. You don't even qualify for a home unless you make $145,000 a year. You're not even considered for a house. Period. That's how this taxation and inflation, what we call voodoo economics, as I refer to it as, in certain places that people can't even afford to buy a home. I mean, a 1-bedroom house in California, certain parts of that country, 800 square foot will cost you $675,000 a year.
Wow.
Is that crazy? So it's flowing across the country. We look at the rent process now. If you look at what's happening in the renting situation, You have these people out of Wall Street who have these REIT programs. They're now buying land, buying up new housing units, buying people's homes. And what's happening? They're raising your rent because they can, because the laws and legislation allow them to do it as long as you purchase a piece of property. If you're owner right now, you can only raise rents for so much because of the law. But when you buy it, you can do whatever you want to do to people. So right now, even here in St. Louis, when I first got back here 4 years ago, a 1-bedroom apartment was $750. Now in 4 years, a 1-bedroom apartment is $1,125. But it hasn't been, our income hasn't increased. Nothing has happened. So we have to be careful and be cognizant of what's going on in this capitalistic society with these laws and rules and legislation that's taking place. We have to really reassess what we've been doing. We may have to do like some of these other people out here at 70 years old, working at these restaurants, trying to make some extra money on the side. It's just that bad. Wow. Because we didn't plan. We didn't plan for this. We didn't see this. You can't see taxation. You can't see inflation. It just happens right before your eyes. Wow.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. What the brother said so much, okay. Last week, you know, I just spoke to my wife and said, you know, I'm living above my means. The mortgage, okay, the income, so-called retired. But since I've been retired, I have went into money for emergency use in the bank account. For money I had put aside for my wife, I had went into some of that money, okay? And I says, I'm looking at my account. I says, you know, you living above your means because what you bring in, Social Security, that eats up the mortgage.
Yes.
The mortgage eats that up. I says, and the water bill, utility bills, the phone bills, I says, you're trying to be the maintainer, okay? And all that's, you into that. So you virtually out of money. So that retirement, as you said earlier, should be planned way ahead to have any kind of money because you don't know the circumstances. Your health come into play. You have a fixed income. You don't have any other money coming in. So I says, well, what you gonna do? And that's turning over in my head because that's bad. I said, that money supposed to have been allocated for emergency use on the house, like when you had a flood or something. I said, now you don't have virtually any money there for that. So that's it. I just, you got to shore up, that mind attitude of managing that money because you don't know how circumstances will change on you.
That's why, my good brother, we have to understand in your assessment, the first thing you want to put is this big old round circle. That is your income circle, okay? There's no more coming in, there's no, and most of it's going out. So you have to be able to make the adjustment in your income circle, do planning and laying out the outline on what am I spending? How am I spending? Then you, like I said, you got to take in consideration the future. Things change in the future. So when you start talking about the emergency fund, wow, most of us don't have it. I'll be honest with you. As I sit here and take applications from people all the time, and I ask them, they come in, I need to borrow $500. I say, what's the purpose of your loan? I need to buy some tires for my car. Shameful. Shameful. I know they all know. I know what the situation is, but when you got to go borrow some money just to put tires on your car, you have to borrow some money to go on vacation. You have to, in some cases, I'm in the regular world. People come there. If you look at their history with my bank, every December they're borrowing money for Christmas. And just like a credit card, that loan is never paid off. Year to year to year, it keeps accumulating. And so we have to really take the time and just relook at things and it's hard to do because you're talking about change. But see, knowledge and information changes you, and you got to have a significant emotional event in order to change. If nothing significant happens to you, you're not going to change. So we're hoping with the way things are going right now, and the fact that you guys are on the line, you see SEE, you're having right now a significant emotional event, and we pray that you be able to sit down and change based on the information you're going to receive. Make sure you come back next week, because I just laid out some topics. I just talked about some subject matter, and everybody is triggered on this line. You can't tell me you're not triggered, because these are things that we don't know. We don't know how they apply to the growth factors, to the maturation factors that we're going to need to succeed in this country. You know, we're just going to have it. If suppose we have a situation where we have an economy problem, where the banks fall, we don't even know what to do in that situation. So I'm not trying to have no gloom, doom and gloom. I'm trying to say this: we got to think. We have to be able to think. And we have to be able to be sincere about our futures as individuals, as families, as communities in this country. We just have to. It really do. And thank you so much for sharing.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Pat, your line was open for a moment. Did you have a question? Assalamu alaikum.
Wait, Islam.
No, I was speaking at the time. I'm her husband.
Okay. Those is the Pat's husband. He had to get his in.
And the prince.
He
Yeah,
recognized
yes.
his income circle.
One of the beauties about this process that we're going through right now, and I think all of us can attest to this, particularly our guests. We never have the opportunity to have these types of discussions. I mean, when was the last time, other than perhaps your spouse or in a particular group that you might be in, when was the last time any of us had discussions about money?
Right.
And about how to change our attitudes about it, recognizing that, in the discussion that I may have some issues I need to deal with. Not even recognizing until you were told that there may have been instances where you were traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma sometimes can be good and bad. I mean, if you think back when many of us, were young, we used to have a piggy bank, where we put our money in. I know in the 70s, there wasn't a house you couldn't go to that didn't have a 5-gallon water bottle that was filled with loose change. Now, in today's world, you walk into people's houses and they got a swear jar. So if you curse while you're in the home, you got to put some money in the jar. So I mean, but those types of things we've lost sight of. We don't do anymore. And I think I know how we got that way, because all of us are now considered to be consumers, and we must spend. They expect for you to spend. I mean, the media promotes spending. All right. I mean, and in our lifetime, we have seen Black Friday go from the Friday after Thanksgiving to any time they want to call something Black Friday.
Right.
You can have a Black Friday in August. So, I mean, this is all about consumerism. And what we need to do is we need to get some control over our spending so that when it is time to put some tires on your car, and I don't know where you're going to get tires for $500, but
Absolutely.
maybe $500 a piece.
You're driving a hoopty. You're driving a hoopty now.
Right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I get your point. I truly get your point.
Yes, sir.
Napoleon Hill says knowledge is critical for making better decisions and achieving your goals. So that's what, we all are doing here today. We're sharing knowledge and, acquiring knowledge, because that's what it is that we need. And so from whatever point that we start, whether we're in debt or whether we have money and we're trying to maximize, that money, this particular workshop, and inshallah, other workshops we may do, is going to be primary, getting knowledge, whether it's specialized knowledge and general knowledge. General knowledge we got in school. Specialized knowledge is what we're doing here now. We're talking about things people don't talk about.
Right.
And that's how, and I read an article the other day about a person that wrote in that said they were making grossing $350,000 a year, and they were living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes. Easy.
And I was stunned. Of $350,000 a year, you're living paycheck to paycheck, but they outlined their expenses. They had a $4,500 a month house note. They had $170,000 worth of cars, and they had student loan at $88,000, as well as the other lifestyle privileges they had given themselves as a result of being in that particular, income bracket. Right. And so they said, as much as we're making, we're still living paycheck to paycheck. It was just astounding.
Yeah, well, they chose to live a certain way. Money makes you increase your thought process and puts you in a state that you think because you make this kind of money, you can afford to live a certain way. But everything comes with a cost, and we just don't have the time. I think a lot of times when you make that kind of money, you're so busy working, but you don't put the time in to come face to face with reality. And that is, this is my net. These are my expenses. Take a look at that again in how you allocate. As we was talking earlier, how you do your accounting, how you analyze your accounting, and how you allocate. And then wherever you have to make that adjustment, you just have to make that adjustment. It's called the 4 A's. We have to stay on top of that. And just let me say this one thing to those of you who have a problem with this thing called credit score. Even if you don't pay off your credit card, here's what people don't realize. If it has to be paid down to 25% of the balance of your credit line. That's how your credit score goes up. We think because we make our payments on time that our credit score is supposed to go up, but no, it doesn't. Your credit score goes up based on what they call allocation of payments. So if you have a $5,000 credit line, you got a $3,000 balance, your credit score is going to go down. But if you pay off that balance, 25% and have what we call a ratio of 25% related to your credit line, then your credit score goes up. And so these little things we don't know. And I pay my bills every month. My credit score is 550 because you got a lot of debt. You got a lot of credit cards, and all you pay is the minimum payment. So those little things, that's what I mean by being able to analyze and allocate and to make those adjustments where necessary to have an effect on your credit score. Most people don't have a clue what a credit score is, and how it works, and I think when Tyler was talking about pay it off, well, most people don't have the money to pay it off, but you can pay it down. If you're within 25%, 30 tops, your credit score will go up and you will have a better opportunity. But, once again, we don't need credit. We need money. Cash has always been king. Income has always been king. So the more money you have, the more you're able to function with your financial wherewithal. We haven't even talked about planning for our children to go to school, our grandkids to go to school. We haven't talked about the expenses that go on to fixing the house, electrical, the roof, the plumbing, the hot water heater. We have to understand renting versus buying, and then be able to prepare to be in whatever situation we need to be. So it's just so much to this that we need to pay attention to. We need to sit down with our families and our children to tell them why you can't get this particular thing, son. And then why you can't just get. These children want it right now. They want a pair of Nikes, man. They don't want to hear it. If you don't give it to them, they're going to find a way to get it. So once again, by not having that educational sit down at the table, I have this one icebreaker I always use when I start a financial class. You have the husband and the wife and the 3 children at the table, and they're going over their budget. So the father said, well, I've gone on the budget. One of y'all have to go. So that, one of y'all got to go. That was an analysis. You hear me? The homeboy did a nice analysis.
We can't afford to have you in here no more.
Yeah, made the adjustment, didn't he? So anyway, I just wanted to say that. So anyone else who may have some, and taxes, that's enough. I'm telling you, we got to get the tax laws are designed for the entrepreneur. We can take advantage of some serious tax laws. We keep leaving money on the table by not understanding. You can have a network marketing company. You can have your own personal company. You'll be surprised what you can write off in your house. So like I said, this is not my forte. I'm just trying to do the attitude and the monetization piece. This is the kind of format, the foundation that these next 5 classes are going to be outstanding for you if you take in consideration that you've done the assessment, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, man, I'm in bad shape. There's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong with it when you don't take the knowledge and information that you've given and do something with it. And that's why I talked about bankruptcy. I've had a lot of people come to me. I said, man, the best thing for you, man, is get to the bankruptcy court, because you're not going to make it in 5 years, but people think that's bad. There's life after bankruptcy, only if you understand, only if you're given the right information. And, so I'm not telling anybody on this line to go bankrupt now, but I'm just saying the analysis that takes place. If you look at yourself, you can't see 5 years from now that I'm going to get out of this. Guess what? I'm heading to the courthouse to get out of this mess and start all over again, because that's what it was all about in the first place. If you understood what bankruptcy was and the history of bankruptcy, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there is life after that, so I just want to say those particular things.
Yeah, Sister Layla had her hand up.
Assalamualaikum. I was going to ask if you would recommend saving money to pay off a debt. And is saving money a good way to build upon your wealth?
I wouldn't dare answer that question without having a full picture of what you're saying.
Can I answer it? Can I answer that question?
I want to answer also, but go ahead.
I want to say just a couple of things real quick. And the next couple of weeks, when I get to do a bit of a presentation, I'll talk more about it. Number one is sleep is one of the most important things a human being can do.
Yes.
And I will explain that to you over the next couple of weeks, how the lack of sleep leads to terrible decision making.
Yes,
because
sir.
how it affects the mind so severely when you don't get enough sleep.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, when you're paying yourself, and hopefully, Sister Layla, this answers your question a little bit. When you are paying yourself first, you should not keep more than 7 days worth of money in a bank account that's paying you less than 3%. No matter what kind of savings that you're doing, you just need enough money that you can get your hands on it in 7 days. Every other dime that you have should be invested in something that is growing swiftly. Definitely is growing faster than inflation, no matter what you're saving it for. Your kids' education, your burial, your retirement, to pay off bills later. If your money is sitting somewhere and it's not making money, you are giving money away. And so many people that I run into on a daily basis, all their money's in a bank.
Yes, sir.
And they're getting 1.5, 1.75. Some of them might get 2% on some type of, they got $25,000 in an account. So, you have that 2%. Much money, they'll pay you 2%.
2%. That's it.
And you're losing money every day if you have your money in there like that. So we have to have our money invested as owners of this system that some of us act like we hate. This capitalist system that some of us act like we hate, that's out there making money hand over fist. We have to participate in it, and we have to influence it by giving money to corporations that are growing that we consider halal. Corporations that we can invest in that are actually doing positive things in this country and around the world. Now, I know those are hard to find sometimes, but they're there for the most part. Nobody's perfect, not us, not them. But you can make 20%, 30%, 5%, 8% by investing in solid companies and putting small amounts of money with every paycheck that you get into that investment field. And if you're trying to pay off debts, it's going to grow faster to allow you to pay off those debts. When your money's invested, if you're the person that has to buy $1,000 worth of tires, I think that's a little bit more realistic. If you got to buy 4 or 5, right?
That's
Spend
right.
$1,000 to $1,100, and you have your money invested in the stock market. You don't have to go ask for that money back. You can take your stock ownership to your bank and borrow against your stocks. Bank will write you a check quick, fast, in a hurry once they verify that's your account and that's the value that's in your account. You don't have to interrupt those investments, and you can pay that money back to the bank, keep your investments. It's called hypothecation. Same thing people used to do with CDs. Yeah, I got a CD, I'm gonna put it up against the loan.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Exact same thing. You know, if you buy United States treasuries, you can hypothecate your United States treasuries against the loan. They'll give you 80% of the value. They'll give you anywhere from 40 to 50% of the value of what your stock portfolio is. So there are lots of things that within the African-American community, I'm not just going to say the Muslim community, but within the African-American community, my own family, that it's an education process of understanding how the financial system in this country works and how you can make it work for your benefit, that you can grow with it and take care of your responsibilities. And if you have children and most of your money is invested, and my kids want a $300 pair of Jordans, I just tell them I'm broke. And they say, Daddy, but you make a lot of money. I say, yeah, but it's at Fidelity. But can you show me? And I just show them the statement. It's over there and I can't get it today. That's not how Fidelity works. Can't just go over there and go to the ATM and pull it out. You know, and over time they get to understand that there's something more important than their immediate needs. The other person that got to understand there's something more important than immediate needs was me. Because I couldn't just go lay my hands on it every time I wanted something. I saw a new pair of shoes or something like that I wanted, dress shoes or something, or suits. It gave me time to actually think about that purchase and how important it was. Was it more important than what I had that money doing for me somewhere else? It imposed a certain kind of discipline on me because it wasn't immediately accessible. And my kids grew to call me Dr. No, because all I said was no, no, no. You know, but I had an explanation for them. And the same thing with me. I mean, do I really need that? Do I really need to go to that expensive restaurant and spend $75 on a steak? Do I really need to do that? And if I had to think about it, and this became a process of thought, of cognition, I'm now thinking cognitively. I'm not dreaming anymore. Not that dreaming is bad at a certain level. We do it every night, most of us. But those fanciful dreams, where I see myself getting out of the limo and walking into the expensive restaurant and spending $500 on a meal. Those fanciful dreams, that's not good. You know, that's my subconscious at work. And we have to learn, we have to put systems in place because we're not always emotionally strong enough. We have to put systems in place to cancel out our subconscious. We've got to cancel it out and get ourselves back to the point that we're thinking cognitively. We're going through and we're doing adding and subtracting and pluses and minuses. And, you know, is this really going to make me feel good past the next 2 hours? You know, is there better use for my time and my money? And usually the answer you come up with is yes. If the answer is no, then go do that thing. If it's going to really make you feel that good, go do it. But chances are it's not. But if you're tired, which is most of us, when I talk to moms that are working 2 jobs and they got kids and they're single mom, there's no way in the world that woman's making good financial decisions. Her brain is never rested enough to make good financial decisions. She needs counseling to help her make good financial decisions. She needs to go talk to someone like Brother Rashid or somebody else in those positions to help her map things out. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about putting those systems in place. Brother Omar has a 50-30-20 system that's fantastic. It's really simple. But, and Brother Rashid talked about, the 1003 form. All of these things help you to align your thinking with the reality that you're in, so that your mind very easily can go back to this plan, that you can see it in black and white and you can check boxes. And I think that's important for most people to implement those systems. It's a lot. You implement it, and then the benefit comes from it. You keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you will start to receive the benefit from it. And I'm going to be quiet.
Alhamdulillah. We have, Sister Layla, I want to address your question, but Brother Najib's line is open, so I want to see if he has a question before I come back.
I think Adam had a question regarding her question as well.
We really want to hear from Adam. Adam is an action and accountant. When your Brother Rashid was talking about one of the 4 A's,
yes, sir.
Alan is Adam is actually an accountant, and he is the accountant for Graceland and a brilliant man. So we definitely need to hear, but we do need to be aware of the fact that normally our class ends at 12. And so this is optional. And what we have done with Graceland is that when our meeting was up, and we wanted to continue talking, we just stayed online and we talked. And you all have that, if all those of us can stay, we welcome you to do so, but we want to recognize those people who need to leave. But if anybody wants to stay and, we continue the conversation, I'm here for it. And so do we want to go on and have the closing dua? So that answer your question? Who was that? Rashana answered. Who was that answer? Older time person. Yeah, Sister Rashana. Yes.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And
I had a quick question. I was about to put it in chat, but really, let's just say everybody here, how many of us do not have an investment account?
I'm going to answer. I have one, but I'm doing poorly with it. I need a financial advisor. And so, and I am struggling with the concept of whether I'm going to use just keeping money in the secular world. I'm really attracted to Amana. And I had stopped because when I looked at their portfolio of products, I was like, I could do better over here. I could do better over there. But I'm like, I'm not doing good with what I have. And I said, and so I'm kind of torn between wanting to work with Amana and staying with other people. But I definitely I don't have a financial advisor. And I've had a self-directed account and I've lost half of what I got. So, and I don't know what other people, everybody seems to have a financial advisor or an accountant. You said, that's what you were asking. Did you have an advisor or did you have an account?
Well, no, I mean, number one is, I just wanted to know if individuals that are here have a financial account. I mean, prior to even getting an advisor, I mean, is anybody even putting away $50 a month in stocks or bonds or something like that? I mean,
yeah, well, I
have to worry about an advisor about small
amount. I have an advisor, and I just hired him. Don't pay him anything, but that's you, Edward. But because when I get on these calls, on Sunday with us, I mean, I did the I-bond thing right away. And the Fidelity investment account, there was no hesitation, because I am one of those that have money put away that's not doing anything, but it does have a purpose. And generally, I like putting my money in real estate, more specifically commercial real estate. So what I do have, I like to invest in something that I can go look at it and say, that's your dad's building right there.
Understood. Yeah, that's ownership. That's ownership.
Yeah, I mean, you want to, one of the things that I just heard relative to the violence amongst young people, particularly when with these different gangs and crews, it's all about turf. It's all about this is my neighborhood. You got no business in it. If I catch you in it, I'm gonna kill you. And what one of the politicians made me realize when they said it was, they're fighting over something that don't even belong to them.
Yeah.
You got a turf war, but you don't own nothing. You don't own no turf. You beefing over a neighborhood that's not even yours. And so one of the things that I want to offer some of these politicians is a program that will invest money into developing properties to teach these young guys how to run a business, to become entrepreneurs, so that if you are going to have a turf war, you've got something that you fighting over, something you're trying to maintain and develop, because now you have a vision of what your community looks like. So that's where I like my money to go. But because I've been on these calls with a lot of you all, I just learned a new word. I've diversified. So I no longer have all of my money in one basket. So and it has been beneficial. But I'm still my mother's son. I got a can sitting right next to me, an old coffee can that has my mad money in it. So when I come home at the end of the day, if I got a couple of extra dollars or I've got, I went out and spent something in cash and here I've got some change, and don't think that I'm kidding you, this is it. And I'll stick my hand in it, and what that look like? That's my mad money. All right, so I'm still playing these are games that I play with myself. And I'm going to be most interested in your presentation on the conscious and the unconscious. I don't know where I fall in that category, but I know I've had issues with money because my entire life has been around money and about getting it. Even developed a program for it, how to make, keep, save, spend, and blow it. Because if you live long enough, you're going to do all 5 of those things. So, I've got some personal issues I need to work out, and willing to admit it. Why is it that I have this sort of penchant of putting myself in a position more than once where I am broke. But I put myself in that position because I do my best work when I've got little to no money. And then I look around, I look around and now I've built something else. You know, so and I'm saying this to those of us who are participants, you know, in the world of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcohol Anonymous. They have a saying where you keep coming back because it works. You know, and I'm going to encourage those of us who are just participants to keep coming back because it works.
I got real quick. I got an interesting analysis.
Yes, sir.
So, Brother Talib has, let's say, $500 out of little pail, right? And you add to it, what, every week? You're on mute, brother. You add to it every week, right?
Yes, close to it. Yes, if not every day.
How far are you from the bank?
Couple miles.
Okay, so you figure $1, $2 worth of gas to go there and back.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. So the best place for your money is right in that pail. Because if you had to go to the bank every week to do that deposit,
right,
52 weeks, that's $104, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
The bank gonna pay you on $500 for the year. The bank's gonna pay you $15 worth of interest. Maybe. So if someone say, well, what the best place for my money? I say, put it under your pillow because it's cheaper.
Right.
Plus you're gonna get taxed on what the bank gave you.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
But you know, years ago when I was a single parent and I was working for AT&T, and I had a friend that I adopted as a father, and he's asked me all the time about saving money. And I'm a single parent. I don't have any money. I can't save money. So every time I talk to him, he wanted to, have you saved any money? Had you saved any money? What do you do? One day he says to me, he said, what do you do when you spend $1? And, you know, I said, you know, I just put it in my purse or whatever. He said, now, what I want you to do, since you say you can't really save big money, he said, I want you to, when you break $1, put the money in a jar. Yep. And so start saving that. And so I said, okay. And I did. So I made a commitment that when I spent money, this was before the days of debit cards. So we spent cash. So every time I spent $1, you know, and I had 20 cents left or whatever, I put the change in this jar, and I kept that jar, you know, for a long time. And then came a disaster in my life, and, you know, I got broke. But what I could do was go to that jar if I needed car fare, if I needed laundromat money, or whatever. I could go to that jar and find the money I needed for that particular expense, or small expenses, you know. I had a neighbor down the street that lived in the purple house, and she was forever sending down to my house, can you give me bus fare? Can you give me, you know, little money, just little money. And I was like, I'd be ashamed to send somebody's house for $2 or bus fare or something of that nature. But that jar helped me keep my dignity. You know, so I have learned, I'm a firm believer in change jars. I got them all over the house. And when I closed up my mother's apartment, she had money everywhere you could think, in prescription bottles, in pockets, old purses. It was something she got from her mother. I collected several $100 from change, and she kept $2 bills. She saved quarters, and for a while the quarters were from different states. She changed that, but she kept money. She had money in the bank, you know, but she kept that little money around the house. So, and I think about the people in disasters. When they had Katrina, people couldn't get to their bank accounts. And they were all of a sudden just whatever they had in their pocket. Right. You know, so if they had change around the house, or, you know, some money, at least they had something that they could spend. But I was just shocked, because they had evidently had a banking system where you couldn't go to any branch. You had to go to your own particular branch to get your money. So even when they dispersed these people to other states, They didn't have access to their accounts because they were in different states where those banks were. So I'm a firm believer in keep a change jar. You know, we got big money, we got little money, but we need to manage every cent of it. Like I said, go down in the couch. You know, and my son is in the house. I looked up, he got nickels and dimes and pennies on the floor. I said, he's throwing away money. To me, that's a sign. That's a mental sign. You're throwing away money. You can look around and see you got a nickel, a dime over here. You know, and so we need to be that conscious of money on a small scale because pennies make dollars.
Yep, that's right.
You know, so
Is it Brother Rashad has his hand up? Is that from before or is that current?
Brother Rashad.
Assalamu alaikum. Two quick questions. Someone mentioned about having money in a savings account, bank savings account. I don't know what that amount should approximately be. I know it shouldn't be like whatever it was. I think he said maybe a week or something. And the other one was, how much cash should you have
that out
in
and
hand?
say your
Say in your home, in case something, like you said, you get a flood or you have to make a run for it. Thank you.
Yeah, you know,
you sound like the guy in the spies in the movie. Like you want to have a go bag.
Yeah.
When you got your passport, couple $1,000 and just in
we
case.
need that if there is a disaster, if there's a natural disaster, you know, like out in California when they had the fires and people had to leave their homes like that. So, and they didn't have time to go and gather up their possessions. But if you have that go bag, you got your passport, you got some money, you know, your bank accounts, just passwords and things of that nature, you can get out the house real quick. You know, so
yeah, and that's advisable. I would agree with that you have that kind of emergency situation that you should be able to grab and go, get your family out and those type of things. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, you know, but I'm gonna have to talk to you about that 7 days worth of money, Edward, because
I mean, if you think, if you know what 7 days worth of money is for you, I mean, you have that in mind. Can you survive for the next 7 days on 1/4 of the money that you spend in a month? If you had to, because everything else, unless there's a total breakdown of society, everything else you can get in your hands in 72 to say 120 hours. Everything else. If you need to liquidate your investment account, that can happen in 72 to 120 hours. If you need to take everything out of your bank, that can happen really quickly. So to think that you have to have sitting in an account that's paying you 1%, 6 to 9 months worth of money doesn't make sense. As Adam was saying earlier, you're losing money. If inflation is 3% and you're getting paid 1%, you're losing money because even your 1% is being taxed. Right? So you're already losing to inflation, now you're losing the taxes. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't know where your money is, that in emergency situations, you should not have the ability to use your money. It's just between those two dots of normalcy and absolute emergency, your money should be somewhere that it's growing. And that hopefully it's growing more than inflation and the taxes that you're going to pay on that growth.
Well,
that your money is actually, at the end of it, when you do total it up, that you've got more money than what you started with. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that's significant enough that it was worth the trouble to spend the 10 minutes to, you know, open the account and transfer money over there.
And that's where I've gotten, you know, this last decade of managing my money. I've gotten to the point where now I'm at the investment portion of it, and I've tried different things and lost money a couple times, you know, so that, and I'm a firm believer, as I said before, let's not invest in things you don't understand, because I have lost money by not understanding totally, but allowing other people to guide me into a particular situation. So I'm going to benefit from this class as well. You know, there's two things we don't talk enough about, and that's death, and the other one is money. So, Brother Rashad, is your hand still up? Did you get your question answered?
Yes.
Okay, but I think you were away from the screen when I was talking about extra income. Did you hear what my comments about extra income?
No, I missed it. I must have stepped away.
Yeah, well, I was reflecting on how you were talking about, you know, your income being fixed, you know, the money that you have is a fixed amount. So, and I talked about, had you considered opening your mind to another source of income?
Oh, yes, I have. I thought about it, you know, many times, but it's a question of what, just what do you want to do? I'm retired now, and looking at the budget, the way things are, overall, the only expenses that we have is really as our home. We have no other debt. So just looking at it roughly, we're in, I would say we're in very good shape, but having this money in savings is just, it should be moved. And where to move it, you know, should we put it in an investment account, or, you know, maybe buy, the brother's talking about maybe income property, you know, that sort of thing. But I'm not looking to, you know, walk dogs
Brother
with a side
Rashad,
hustle or anything like that.
Could you manage to invest $100 a month?
You know, I don't see that being a necessity, but I would like to have some passive income where I could kind of sit back and say, hey, this money's over here working while I'm sleeping.
All right.
That sort of thing. So I think that's where we basically are right now. And of course, like I said, we just need to fine tune some things. And we're not sure where to go. We have a financial planner.
You do?
But it's just that I just think we overcompensated in terms of the bank account. It just, I just think it's too much. I think it needs to be, something needs to be done with it to make it work. Because like I said, inflation was just tearing it apart. You know, like I think it's what, 1%, less than 1%. You know, it's crazy. But that's why we're here.
Yes, sir. I
Thank
mean,
you.
So, Brother Rashad.
Yes.
Did you take advantage of investing in, or I should say it this way, have you taken advantage of investing in I-bonds?
Not I-bonds. I saw something on it. I think it's closed now.
No.
And
it never closes. I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
It never closes.
Oh. See, that's what I'm saying. Thank you. Okay, I-bonds.
Yeah, and that's 6.98% currently.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
okay.
Wow. Let me say this, guys, before we go. He is a perfect example while we started off with monetizing your attitude. You know, you've heard a lot of things today, and, you know, I don't want you, the old saying TMI, is to stick with the monetize your attitude, the cash spending plan, the realization of where you are. So as these classes progress, you can be able to take advantage of the things that are being said and the forming and the formulation of how to invest, what to do, how to do it. You know, we let's take one class at a time, Brother Rashad. You know, you're here. you're analyzing. We did what we're supposed to do today. We attracted your attitude. We got your attention. We provoked thought. So just do the complete analysis. As we said before, look at the allocation. You look at the adjustments you have to make and take advantage of each class step by step by step. Because if you just lay it out, and I just looked at these 6 weeks, if you go through the 6-week time period, you'll be able to analyze a lot better. You'll be able to adjust a lot better. And when you make that decision, it's in line with your formulation and your foundation that you started from today's class. Okay, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? So next week we have the budget session, correct?
Knowledge.
Oh, and then budget is the 4th week.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, so knowledge is next week. So your homework is continue learning about money. Reading everything you can. I'm gonna go back and say, definitely, there's a summary online for Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And the principles are all there so that you can go and I think they're excellent, given what all that we've talked about, that you find those principles really helpful. It just kind of jogged things for me. And I said, I think I'd benefit from going back and reading the book again. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, then we can leave. We've already had our closing due. I think this was an excellent session. So you all experience what we experience every week on Sundays. You know, we have our meetings and then we just sit around and, you know, we talk about money. Or we talk about, you know, other subjects that interest us, mainly money. You know, so any Sister Rashada, did you have a comment?
Yes, just one last thing to always add to closing. When you're talking about money, I know that there's a lot of sisters who are single or single mothers or women who are trying, even in marriages, his money, her money, and dealing with the unity of money and separateness of her money. How do we, hopefully there'll be some aspects or segment dealing a little bit with that.
You know, I was really thinking about that when I was trying to do the form that I'm telling you all about, just the money tracker. And I went back and I added 2 lines, you know, income 1 and income 2. I said, that's a conversation. And everybody, a lot of couples, they're definitely not on the same page when it comes to money. One's a spender, one's a saver.
Yeah.
And then I have a guilty pleasure. I read a lot of Reddit columns. And as I read, people's, the way they handle their money and their relationships is just, it's enlightening. So, but my comment about when there's him and her, when it comes to money, especially, you have to have a conversation. You got to sit down and have a conversation. Now we can have relationships where a conversation may lead to, you know, an argument. And I don't want to talk about it. It's my money. I don't want to talk about it. And, you know, you never know what is happening on the other spouse's end, you know, and when it's like that, then you have to save self. Or to say on the airplane, put your mask on first. So you have to kind of deal, you know, so on a personal level, how you going to deal with that? But it definitely is, as Brother Rashid spoke about, you know, if you got a spouse that's has bad credit or they're a spender, it'll sink you. You know, so the thing is not to put your name on any accounts that they have, and hopefully that helps somewhat. But in certain states, you know, you wind up just being reliable, you know, a personal experience in
community property.
Community property.
Community property state.
Yeah, so I came from Ohio, and when my husband and I separated, his job would not allow garnishes, so they garnished me. I didn't spend not one dime. He was the spender, but I wound up. I was working for AT&T, and they would take money out of my account every paycheck to pay those debts that he had left off because his job wouldn't recognize garnishments. but I was financially liable for them. You know, so it took me 2-3 years to pay all that off. You know, so, but, you know, you have to have a conversation with someone, and then you have to make a decision what you're going to do as a result of that conversation. How you're going to handle, you know, yourself, you know, what you're going to do to survive, you know, the relationship if it goes down in flames. And one of my daughter's friends, her mother gave her a wedding gift of a large sum of money. And she told her, this is not for your husband to know about. She said, this is your safety valve. If you have to leave, you don't have to worry about how you're going to leave financially. You have money to leave. And a lot of people get trapped into a relationship because I don't have enough money to leave. I'm scared, you know, I don't have money to support me and the children or whatever. So, but you have to come up with a game plan of what you're going to do, you know, when you're married. And so I always tell people when I'm talking to sisters before they get married, I tell them this, you know, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. You need to understand what's going on with, you know, money before you get married. You all need to have an understanding about money before you get married. You know, years ago when I married my husband and he asked me what I wanted for a dowry, I told him an insurance policy. That was just one of my stipulations. I need an insurance policy. Yeah, we can get the ring and the honeymoon. I want that too, but I need an insurance policy. I was thinking about my future, you know, and alhamdulillah that I did, because he did pass, you know, about 10 years ago. But you have to, you know, when we marry, women marry, even brothers, we got to be thinking about the financial end of it. We can't do that without. So once you get into the situation, then it's, you know, you have to make the best you can out of it. But it's definitely a conversation for both people. You can't manage your finances in a marriage, you know, without having both people on board, I would think.
Yeah, I want to take this time to push Sister Munira Habil has a show every Tuesday evening from 7 to 9 on AM 360 called All About Courtship and Marriage. And her last 2 segments was about financial considerations, when in America, finances is probably one of the largest causes of divorces. Mm-hmm. So she addresses it not just from a financial point of view, but also from an Islamic point of view. So I would, and she's come up with a questionnaire. I'm gonna try to get that could be given. But I encourage everybody to tune into her program because she addresses all that and from an Islamic point of view.
What's their name?
Yeah, that's one of sort of a concern of mine, because often in our community, you know, sisters get married to brothers without a legal document. You know, they'll get married at the masjid. They have no rights, no financial rights. You know, they could be with that brother 20 years, but if he dies, they can't go to Social Security and get a dime because they weren't legally married. So if you're married to someone for 10 years with a certificate, if he dies, you have, you know, right to their Social Security benefits. But there's so many things we need to understand before we make a decision to get married. And in polygyny, I have no issues with polygyny because Allah made it lawful. But you need to contract what's going to happen to me and my children, you know, because you're not going to be recognized. And so there's just sisters, you know, that's a heart space for me, you know. So, and I'm glad that there's a sister working, you know, who has a program with it, because our sisters aren't listening. You know, maybe they don't know, but you really, really, really have to give it thought, you know, because it's hard to fix once you sign that document. You got married, you got the papers, you know. And I read a lot of stories where people start living together, they buy a house together. You buy a house before you got married. Mm-hmm. The house is in maybe one of their names because they had the greatest income or the best credit. So when the other person gets ready to, if they decide to leave the situation, they have no legal rights. Their name is not on the deed. Their name is not on the mortgage. They have nothing going on. we jump into situations out of emotions, and it's a hotbed. You know, it's not a love bed, it's a hotbed. So I say I overtalk, Sister Rashawn, so did you get the answer to your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
I got the answer to part of the question. And the brother mentioned the name of the show. The sister have a program, a show that was on. If he would send that a link to that, or what the name of that was, I appreciate that. The other part of that is maybe I'll sit down and try to formulate it a little bit more, because I have some thought process in that, but I don't want to belabor it with trying to get to the actual question. Sometimes I have to think it out. But thank you for your time. And yes, you answered a lot of that, but not where I need to go. But thank you.
Alhamdulillah. So, any other comments or questions? Yadan was called not too long ago in the eastern area for me. So I'm going to say, you all perfectly willing to stay on, but I'm going to sign off. And I look forward to next week. And I thank Brother Rashid, he left, but he really started, he started the ball rolling, you know, started us conversating, and we can begin to see, you know, the value of having this roundtable conversation, you know, just how far it can take us. So, assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so very much. Brother Adam, I need to send you an email, so look out for it, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.